Hello and welcome to News, Games, and More, aka NG Plus. I'm Brian Altano, and with me today is Jonathan Dornbush.
Beyond.
Sydney Goodman.
Beyond.
AKA NG Plus. I'm Brian Altano. And Zach Ryan.
It's me. I'm here once again.
Oh, you ruined it.
Why?
We're going to confuse everyone. They were going to think they were watching Beyond.
As you can see, we are doing the show remotely. We wanted to keep the shows going here on IGN all week long, so we have cobbled together this wonderful new way to interact across homes and towns and cities without giving each other the cooties and such. A lot of our stories today are about the sort of like entertainment reaction to a lot of the things that are happening in the actual news. And we'll start with one of the biggest ones. Zach, you want to kick us off a little background on what's going on with GameStop?
Actually, I was gonna talk about GameStop first, but I actually found a bigger news story that I think that we should cover out of the gate.
All right.
If you guys wouldn't mind taking a look at this game called Sea of Stars. It's a prequel to The Messenger from 2018, one of my favorite games, and they're doing a 16-bit RPG that I think looks really. And I just wanted to plug it a little bit and tell you guys you should play it when it comes out.
Now, The Messenger was a great game. Will this game be about The Messenger when he's a little child?
It's a prequel to The Messenger, and it's got like heavy Golden Sun vibes. We decided to show a little Animal Crossing there, just a little bit, just to confuse people. I think I like to keep people on their toes on this show, but yeah, it looks like Golden Sun to me, and this is supposedly a prequel to The Messenger. Anyway, I just noticed it when we were prepping the show last minute, and I really love The Messenger so much that I thought I'd throw you guys a real curveball and talk about this game first. But now I can see that was a mistake because nobody else is really interested in this.
I'm interested in it.
I am too. I just didn't want to interrupt.
I see.
That's
You're on
okay.
such a roll.
I am not particularly interested.
Wow. That's okay. That's all right. I appreciate
whether you're interested or not, one of the stores you'll be able to buy this game in is GameStop because they don't care. They're going to stay open no matter what.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about GameStop. Honestly, this story came in sort of midday and actually really blew up on Twitter and on IGN.com. You know, we saw it shoot to the top of our concurrence chart, which means that tons of people are looking at it. And it really got a lot of traction on Twitter as well, jumping up over like 7,000 likes within about 2 hours. A representative for GameStop has since confirmed to IGN via email that the corporation is keeping stores open as an essential business during the pandemic, citing a list of items GameStop sells that the company deems to be essential products. This list of items provided to IGN includes webcams, microphones, mice, keyboard, monitors, chargers, audio equipment, and they said in a statement, due to the products we carry that enable... What's happening?
We're can't laughing. Believe that this was a real...
Because
it's hard for me to look at the run of show and not see what's happening because I think you guys are laughing at something I am doing.
No, we're laughing. We're laughing.
I mean, both.
We're laughing because this is horse shit.
Yeah, I agree. So here's what their statement. Due to the products we carry that enable and enhance our customers' experience in working from home, we believe GameStop is classified as essential retail and therefore is able to remain open during this time. Brian, you wrote the notes for this show today and you said, hey, this is horseshit because nobody considers GameStop an office supply store. Here's the deal. In this fairly uncertain time, I think this is tremendously irresponsible. I did want to ask you what your take is on this story and why you think they would do this, because it just seems totally baffling to me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think in the history of this company, not a single person has once been like, hey, I got to go to the office supply store right down the street at the mall. It has Mario in the window. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's the thing to me is like this list that they include webcams, microphones, mice, keyboard, monitors, chargers, audio is not what I think of when I think of GameStop, you know? Like none of those things are like my first destination there. You know, in the few and far times that I'm in a GameStop, I'm looking at games. Like all that other stuff is so tertiary to that experience that it's crazy to me that they think that this is essential, or that they think that they can get by on saying like, oh yeah, these are the things that we are providing to our customers.
Yeah, like if you had a vending machine in like a sex toy store, you wouldn't be like, this is a restaurant.
I think my confusion comes though in like, so I feel like they're really trying to frame it like they're saying. Zach, are you okay?
I almost shot beer out of my nose when he said that. So,
but so I think that the way they're framing it makes it seem like it's very like altruistic that they're staying open for the good of the people. But it's like there's so many other ways. If they, whoever's running GameStop and making this decision truly believes that it needs to stay open, like there's so many ways to protect their employees and their customers, whether that's like appointment only or, you know, only one person in at a time. And just, it's just, again, it's so irresponsible. It's actually comedic. Yeah. I just cannot believe that they're trying to justify, and this is how they're justifying it.
Yeah, they're telling the public that their stores are being cleaned down, and their employees are saying, no, they're not. They're not, because they're not sending us cleaning supplies. And it's also like, it's like you said, it's completely irresponsible. Jonathan, what do you think about this?
Yeah, we had a few anonymous GameStop employees, obviously speaking under anonymity. I can't speak at the end of the day.
That's okay. I kept saying GameSpot, so we're both
true. We're fair. It's a fair game. Yeah, they, speaking to us anonymously, basically talked about how, you know, they've been raising concerns to GameStop corporate about, you know, whether they are going to be able to get more paid time off or whether they'll be able to be considered for shutting down the stores. And essentially, what we've been told by these employees is that their concerns are falling on deaf ears. And obviously with these statements today, it feels like the implication is they're going to stay open at least until they're forced to, because employees reported to us anonymously that they've been receiving essentially emails dictating that stores stay open. And even if police are coming down to shut down some of these stores, to hand them information that essentially says, we are an essential business, please talk to GameStop corporate, which not a thing you would want to have to probably tell the cops when they're at your store. But I think to me, it's pretty obvious reading between the lines, at least, that there's likely some decision making going on here because GameStop is in a bad place, and any money that company can make right now financially is probably a good idea in their minds, even if the obvious downfall of it or like the downsides of it are obvious to all of us. It's clear, I
have a quick question. Do we know if GameStop corporate is working from home, or is corporate all working in their offices?
So that's a great question, right? Like, is it just lower level employees that are out there braving the, are the executives and the corporate level, out there as well? And I'd be willing to put money on the idea that they are definitely.
Yeah, we don't have a full picture of that at the moment, so unfortunately can't say for certain. But yeah, as we're seeing sort of the state of the world, progress every day, I wouldn't be shocked, as Zach said, that like probably at least some of them on the corporate side are working from home if they can have the luxury to. And obviously, as these employees are telling us, they don't have the luxury to choose that. They aren't really being given a benefit. It could be detrimental to their career and to their lives if they left.
Yeah, I will say that if the GameStop corporate employees are working from home, I can guarantee that they didn't get their home office supplies at GameStop.
Touche, Brian.
Just saying. Yeah, no, seriously. Yeah. I honestly, the retail workers right now in America and all over the world are some of the most overworked people, underpaid people. GameStop is in the middle of a sort of a mismanaged image crisis. They've banked their entire 2020, fiscal salvation on the idea that these stores will become these communal places where people can come and hang out, which is the sort of polar opposite of where our species is supposed to be right now. We're all holed up, hanging out inside. And so they're figuring out ways to save face until next-gen consoles come around this fall and give them the windfall of money that they need. But this is a company that's already been on the way out, that's already been mismanaged, that's already handling everything incorrectly, and they're bleeding money, and they're making their employees suffer because of it. And that makes me livid, honestly.
Yeah, it seems to me like they're really grasping at straws lately. And I think what they really need more than anything is good PR at this point. Like, I feel like the way that they've rolled out a lot of these statements, especially this one, is bungled. And it's only going to be detrimental in the long run, because like at this point, the conversation around them is just continually like, hey, they're pretty bad at this. And in an era, like you're saying, where they're trying to change their image, where they're trying to kind of reinvent themselves, their messaging is pitch perfect. Nobody's going to buy into that. And it's really unfortunate, because they're already, operating at such a loss that these kinds of things certainly can't help.
Yeah, I totally agree. You guys have any last thoughts on this one?
Well, I did want to point out a couple of comments here. So just some guy over on the IGN board, that's his username. That's not just my take on him. Just some guy says, okay, I've defended GameStop and wished them the best of luck in the past, but this is just stupid. And I think, as this conversation obviously pointed out, we're all pretty much in agreement there. But also I wanted to point out, sort of devil's advocate, Pyromanica4548, which, wow. What a username. I know people are going to laugh at this, but video games are honestly a big essential as of right now. I would agree with that statement, except that they didn't list any video games as their essential reasons for staying open. Like I will admit that, like, in this weird stay-at-home time, like my personal gameplay has just like shot through the roof. Like, it is essential to me right now, but not to the extent that I would expect anybody to like put themselves in harm's way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the list of stuff that we saw from them at home, or the reasons they're saying it's an essential business and they're not sending people home, is the stuff that you would need if you were starting to work from home, and maybe there are a lot of people in the world who just aren't prepared for that. And that is an understandable train of thought, and at the very least, I'm glad in the middle of this list that, I've seen from our correspondence with them where it's saying Logitech keyboards and headsets and mice. We also didn't see Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing, because I feel that messaging would have come off a little weird. And, the reality of it is the Nintendo eShop, the PlayStation Network, Xbox Live, they're all having big sales all the time. They're all giving us instant downloads of games. Like, there's a lot of easier ways for us to get those games. And so it makes a lot of sense that they wouldn't list those.
So
I think,
go ahead.
No, you talk.
I know that this was like final comments, but quick question. In the scenario where, Jonathan, you were talking about like the police trying to shut down a GameStop, and they were stating that since they're an essential store, they shouldn't close. What was the police's reaction to that? Like, did they let them stay open?
So we actually didn't hear about any sort of reactions. We were just being told essentially that GameStop employees were allegedly told to, like, hey, if you're approached by this sort of situation, here's how you should respond. Because essentially, if those stores are in places where shutdown in place or shelter in place lockdowns have essentially been put into effect, all non-essential businesses should be closing. So that's sort of the scenario they were saying, how they were instructed to go about it.
Got it.
Yeah, I think that this is like, we're all making a lot of sacrifices right now in terms of pretty much everything for the safety of the world. And I think one of those sacrifices should be maybe buy a digital game this weekend. Like, maybe if you collect physical games, that's awesome. Put that on pause for a little bit. Download a game. Like, save everybody the trouble of having to keep these retail stores open. And honestly, I think that like GameStop should be doing better at taking care of its employees during a time like this and not making them feel like they have to live paycheck to paycheck. And obviously, that goes to hundreds of companies. We're only focusing on this one right now, but this is an issue that a lot of companies are going through right now. If you've noticed that, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I'm very curious to see how the company responds as a whole after this weekend, because they do have Doom and Animal Crossing launching this weekend, and then at least there's a couple of weekends before Resident Evil 3 and FF7 Remake start to hit. And those are sort of the windows when we were told the initial California, at least the SF Bay Area, shelter in place window would be. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see an announcement from them after this weekend that they're closing down stores, which would be convenient, but wouldn't be shocking.
I also wanted to point out a comment on chat here from Stevon Williams, who says, okay, that's enough with get to the Netflix info, which is a confusing statement, but I think he raises a great point. So let's move on. Let's move on to our next story. Brian, you want to lead off?
Yeah, sure. So if you've noticed, our Wi-Fi has been a little choppy right now. Sorry about that, but a lot of people are using the internet at the exact same time all over the world. And in specific regions, companies are actually being asked to throttle that a little bit and save some internet for everyone else. In the UK, Netflix was asked by the European Union to basically reduce their bandwidth of their output for all the streaming that's happening at the exact same time. Everyone is home binging. Everybody is home watching movies and TV shows right now. And Netflix responded by saying, okay, yeah, we can do that. So they're actually planning on dropping quality a little bit so that we don't use up all of our internet. And I know that makes me sound like a grandfather when I explain that, because I thought there was infinite internet, but here we are. It's a resource like everything else. How do you guys feel about this? Do you think this is going to start happening all over the world? Is it going to start happening with other streaming sites? Like, what's your take on this one?
I feel like it feels very surreal to think about rationing the internet. But honestly, if the internet went away, I don't know what I would be doing with my time. I mean, it would prevent us from working and doing this work from home. I'm sure we're not alone in that. But also, like, I'm playing games on the internet and I'm streaming things. So I don't know. It felt like a very stark, like, wow, I guess I'm glad you're doing that and thinking ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, I have, a couple puzzles ready to go when all of it shuts down, so I'll be okay. But no, it is an interesting thing for us to think of the internet as a resource like that, and the reality of the way our infrastructure is built. Probably didn't expect a situation like this, and sort of the high volume that we're now seeing, and probably will continue to see for at least a little while as these shutdowns happen all around the world. So I get the sacrifice there. And I mean, for me, if my binge of The Circle or Love is Blind is in 720p for a weekend, I'll deal with it. I think when it becomes a problem for people who are using the internet to get resources or to be able to communicate with loved ones and all those things, when it starts to hamper those things, that's when I foresee becoming more of a problem.
Yeah, I agree. I actually had a couple solutions for this. I was thinking specifically that if you have a crappy TV, you should get bad internet. And I don't know how they can give that to you. Also, if you have motion blurring turned on, you also get bad internet.
My parents have motion blurring turned on.
Tell them congrats on the bad internet. If you've never calibrated your TV, I think you should also get the bad internet. If you only do emails and you only watch reality shows, you don't need 4K for that. That's fine. You get bad internet. But if you're watching, I don't know, like 1917 or something, something that looks really good, I think you can get slightly better internet. This is all a joke. It's not real. I'm just joking.
I wanted to read a couple of comments. So, first of all, I think M. Genoff on Twitter really sums it up where he says, it's 2020. We don't do standard definition anymore. And then also Greed 1914 on the IGN comment board says, on the flip side, you have American ISPs temporarily suspending data caps almost as if they were a totally arbitrary thing that served no purpose other than to make people pay more money. And that's where the conversation I've seen that's the conversation that I've seen the most is like people are saying, look, if you're going to throttle our basically the data so that we're looking at stuff in lower resolution, then we shouldn't have to pay for the HD service package from Netflix.
Yeah.
I think that's totally fair.
I think that's also very fair, but I'm also thinking, so is it a bad thing that the ISPs suspended data caps because now it's encouraging like American users to use more bandwidth, ultimately like using up a resource that isn't as infinite as I thought it was?
No, I think what he's highlighting here is like so easy for them to remove those data caps, whereas before we thought, I think the general line of thinking is like, oh, they cap it for a reason, but once this, outbreak starts happening, they're like, forget about data caps. We're like, have at it, like go nuts.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying, is there a repercussion for them doing that in terms of people just that we're going to find ourselves in a state that, the internet breaks?
Yeah,
right.
apparently that we only have a little bit of internet left. It's a hot commodity that I didn't understand before, but like a lot of endangered species, there's only so much internet that we can have before internet is gone forever. So enjoy this show while you can, because someday soon the internet will be gone.
Remaining.
Yeah.
But that makes your internet like kind of dumber and like ugly.
Oh.
So you know what I'm saying?
Oh no.
Well, it's not. They're not like pandas. They're not gonna just.
I think pandas would be cute even if they were inbred.
Don't they show pandas videos of other pandas making love to get them to make love?
Panda
porno? I don't know why I called it making love.
When the pandas make love.
Well, I'm pretty sure that that's the only way that pandas do intercourse. It's really slow and beautiful. Okay, we really got way off topic.
We definitely don't need to show the internet more videos of people having sex. That's like most of it.
I think,
especially with our spotty connection.
That's true.
Yeah. But no, to bring it back around to that, I do. It's the problem is it's sort of it keep opening up this can of worms. Sort of to what Zach was alluding is the idea that this announcement was made of, hey, we're going to have to reduce your resolution, but we're not reducing your pay or how much you're paying. That wasn't part of that announcement, and so it's that give and take of us seeing data caps going away, which obviously means it's a BS metric that they're forcing on us because they want us to pay them more money. But we do now see the reality of the give and take when the internet is in such high demand. How are we going to be able to balance that resource? And that is an interesting thing to have to figure out. And I don't know if we have the answers.
So to be devil's advocate on that, I think a lot of us are paying for stuff right now that we're not really using. People are paying monthly for gym memberships. People are paying for Amazon Prime 2-day delivery, which is absolutely not happening in 2 days anymore. There's, I have like one of those like Chase travel cards. Like I'm not traveling. I just got an email from hotels.com and they're like, you have 9 days left to use your silver rewards. And I was like, where do you want me to go? My kitchen? Like, so like.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying everything's kind of in flux right now and we're all figuring it out.
Well, and it's tough because I feel like I know some of the small businesses that I frequent. Like I have bought gift cards from them with the intention to use in the future because these are small business owners who, don't have the resources that maybe Netflix does when they're reducing people's monthly rates because they can't stream in HD. And it's tough though, because I've noticed that like the small businesses that I support have been a lot more flexible with rates and like kind of a lot more fair. Mm-hmm. While, these bigger companies like the Amazon thing is so frustrating. But it's like, it's Amazon. Like, just put people's Prime memberships on freeze. Give them a month free. Like,
yeah, something. Give me some free movies. Anything. Like, yeah, you're totally right. This is a multi-billion-dollar company that is like predicated on a service that we rely on, and that service is obviously slowed down because everyone's using it at the same time. But like those savings don't get passed on to us. And not to go off tangent here, but like that's the same thing that's going to happen with the airlines. Like the airlines are like, hey, don't forget about us. Like we really need some money right now. And I'm like 2 months ago, you charged me like $14 for like ice. Like you guys suck. Like
I did want to point out only 100 kind of sums it up nicely, since we've been having such a hard time parsing out how this internet actually works. Think of the internet like a motorway. There's only so much road and everyone is trying at the same time. That's a pretty good analogy.
Wow, obviously, that's a really good analogy.
Obviously, there's about 30 people trying to be on the road in the video is definitely stalling out. I got a real choppy going on. But you guys ready to move on to our next story?
Yeah, I think he just called the internet an information superhighway.
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
That's true. Yeah, let's move on.
So, Super Smash Bros. DLC development may be stopped indefinitely. Masahiro Sakurai told, that's the director of the Smash Brothers series, told Famitsu, if someone is found to be infected, the entire building will be closed down and development will be halted altogether. Coronavirus has cast a long shadow on game production. Various software may be delayed or canceled, but there's nothing we can do. People aren't at work, then of course nothing will proceed as planned. Also, Brian, I like that you put in a note here. It's very hard to make 17 more Fire Emblem characters so thank you for that.
It's true. That old joke. Yeah, what do you guys think about this? Because I think it's sort of fascinating that we're seeing a lot of game development move remotely. In America specifically, there's a bunch of different companies that have all said, everyone go home. You can work from home. You can work from there. And it seems like, for the most part, we haven't actually read a lot about major game delays with all this. There's a lot about movies and TV shows, which we'll get into in a bit. But in terms of game delays, not so much. And Smash Brothers is an interesting focal point right now because that game's been out for years. And this is all supplemental content. And so we're not really sitting there starving for new stuff for Smash Brothers, but it never hurts because it always makes us happy to see a new character get added. But they did say that if one person gets sick, everything gets shut down, and it doesn't really seem like that development will move to their home studios and stuff, probably because they don't have GameStops to buy office supplies from. And so I guess what do you guys think? Like, is this a trend we're going to see more and more? Is this where game development's going to head through all this? Or do you think this is just going to kind of slow things down for a little bit?
I think we talked about this a little bit on Tuesday's show, and I kind of feel like we're only at the beginning of the actual delays that are going to happen in light of this. I feel like development studios and production shutting down now is going to have a much, much bigger impact in quarter 3, quarter 4 when we start seeing release dates slide because people are missing the polishing time now, or missing the time to put in that work now. So I think he makes an interesting point about potential delays. I just thought the way that he went about it was really weird. Like, if one person gets it, we're shutting everything down, we're moving everybody out. Like, it's, he just seemed pretty harsh about that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say on the 2 points, one, I do think we're, as Zach was saying, just at the start of it, my guess is as everyone is getting used to working at home, I don't think any company right now wants to make an announcement right now that their game, even if it's something like The Last of Us coming out in June or something further like Cyberpunk, we got that announcement that Cyberpunk is still on track, but obviously seeing how the situation changes, that statement or other company statements that haven't even been released yet could change very drastically in the next 2 to 3 weeks even. So I think a lot of companies are sort of trying to just figure out what the situation is before making those announcements. Whereas with a movie or TV show, they just know day one, they can't have people on set, so it has to shut down. Mm-hmm. There are more workarounds game development can have. And in terms of how he gave this announcement, I mean, I think the sort of severity of it just shows they are not willing to take any risks. And so if one person gets it, they would rather shut everything down than risk a second person getting it, which I think is an admirable thing, even if they're not set up at home to give me whatever secret DLC character is coming,
Okay, so I actually have to, I don't know if I totally disagree, and it could just be like a translation thing, but the idea that they're going to wait until one person shows that they are sick to shut everything down, like it takes 14 days, up to 14 days for symptoms to show. So
right.
That at that point, more than one person could have had it.
Right.
So again, I don't know if it was just a translation thing or what. And I agree that it's admirable that it's like, okay, we're just going to shut it down and people's safety is concerned. But I'm a little confused there because it feels like a conflicting statement. But the second thing that I'm interested in is if these games are getting delayed, in Q3 and Q4, then you're pushing up against this new console generation. And if these are games that are supposed to be coming out for PS4 and Xbox One and don't have the capabilities, or they're not making a version for the next gen, then what happens?
Yeah, no, you raise a really, really good point, especially because these consoles will probably be some of the most expensive we've ever seen, and that price will be justified by how awesome these new games are, or lack thereof, right? Like, I really think that's going to be a major pain point. Obviously, this is throwing a giant monkey wrench into everything all over the world. But this specifically is going to be something that I think we're going to start to see the effects of. I wanted to ask you guys a little bit about games as a service, which I don't necessarily consider Smash Brothers to be, but it's obviously a game with a very long tail. It's got content plans for months and months. And every time we hear this is the end of it, Sakurai emerges and he goes, no, we're doing more. We're adding more characters and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of games, some of the most popular games on Earth right now, Fortnite, Apex Legends, PUBG, Destiny, stuff like that. we always think about games getting delayed sort of as a whole, movies getting delayed as a whole, but I think a lot of these games are now being played more than ever because everyone's home. But there's probably massive content drops that are planned for these things that might get pushed back. What do you think that's going to do to impact sort of the games industry and the people playing? I agree. Good work.
I'll go. Oh no, you go. I wasn't going because I didn't want to step on.
We'll go at the same time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I mean, my thing is maybe they're preparing big content drops for those times, but we don't know. A lot of those live as service games are not telling us what they're going to do in 9 months. So at the very least, publicly, it's very easy to hide those sorts of delays, especially with ongoing games, because the reality of it is they're not announced, but we're probably going to be playing Fortnite and PUBG and Warframe and Apex on next-gen consoles, whether through backward compatibility or new versions. And so even if there are issues in porting those games to those new consoles, like those ports get delayed, they still have enough of an infrastructure and a player base on the rest of the consoles and iOS and Android phones, everything, to be able to bring people still into their ecosystem and find ways to still make money. I think there's a lot of delays that are going to happen we just don't even know about.
Yeah, I totally agree. Sid, what were you going to say?
Well, it was more or less that with games as a service, you like, I mean, I'm not going to repeat exactly what Dornbush said, but basically what Dornbush said.
Can you?
But what I do think is like really interesting is that, you know, there's no way to predict how long this is going to go on in terms of COVID goes. And like, even, I mean, for us, like, how long are we going to be working from home? I don't know. Could be like I truly couldn't even estimate it. Right. But I don't quote me on this, or do, because I'm pretty sure this is accurate. But these organizations or these delays, a lot of them have been relatively like, they're not putting, oh, you know, we've delayed it a week or we've delayed it a month and this is the new release date. We saw it a little bit in the beginning with the movies, but is that GDC rescheduled to August, which feels relatively close to me. I mean, I might have a fundamental misunderstanding of how long this whole thing's going to go on, but I don't know that August I want to be with like a bunch of people. And I know that's a little bit off topic, but it's just, I found that really interesting.
No, you're totally right. And I mean, August is also puts squarely in, PAX Prime and Gamescom, which is the largest video game convention on Earth territory. And I don't believe either of those shows have publicly canceled yet. Obviously, they probably will, but you're totally right in that, like, I think putting a date on when, you know, the lights will come back on and everything will return to normal is sort of a little premature right now. And so you're totally right. Everything's up in the air. All we can do is wait. And I think for a lot of these games, there's so much content there already that it's not like we're like starving, waiting for more Smash Brothers stuff. We're not, more Fortnite stuff. Fortnite's had updates for years now. It is almost borderline unrecognizable from when it first started. And something like Smash Brothers has, how many characters are in that game now, Zach? Like 75, 100?
Yeah, there's more. Yeah, there's
you know when I was talking about the N64 one, right? Yeah, over 70 characters. So I don't know. I guess I implore you, if you're really excited for this, go play Smash Brothers again. Pick a character that you don't normally pick as, get out of your comfort zone. I always play as Rob, so I can be literally anybody better than that because he's kind of
you're the worst.
I know. I don't play pro level. I put items on, all stuff. Use up all the internet.
I wanted to point out a couple of comments here in chat. So first of all, Rosemary Media, our friend Rosemary, says, Zach, Fran Mirabella would scoff at your frame rates per second right now. But you know what? Fran's not my boss anymore. So nothing to be done about that. Secondly, I just want to shout out to this dude, Izzy Busby, who's just screaming about people staying in. He's just like telling everybody to do push-ups and stuff. And like, I appreciate where you're coming from, my man. I do think that that's important in these weird times. Take it easy over there. We're talking about video games and stuff. Let's move on. So not only is Smash Brothers now delayed, but also a lot of movies have been delayed. Let's talk about the list of movies that are delayed, starting with Fast and Furious 9, No Time to Die, Mulan, A Quiet Place Part 2, The Lovebirds, The New Mutants, Antlers, Blue Story, Peter Rabbit 2, Black Widow, Spiral, Antebellum, Minions, that one really hurt, Trolls World Tour. Which are you saddest about? And should they just put these movies up for rent on streaming platforms? Obviously, I'm the most upset about the Minions film. I love those little yellow. Yeah.
I'm a Trolls man myself.
Yeah.
Both those films ended like the previous ones were like just major cliffhangers. So, I don't know if I can wait another minute to find out what happens to the what was it? The Minions and the Trolls.
The Rise.
Yeah.
This is, as far as I can tell, this is the 23rd Minions film to come out. So,
hey, don't knock it. They're making the Mario movie.
I know. I have a whole different set of concerns about. But
they make good movies.
Yeah. Oh yeah, name 3.
Minions 2.
I thought the first, I can't remember what it's called. What's the Minion? Where did the Minions originate?
Despicable Me.
Despicable Me. That was good.
First one's good.
I don't remember their other ones. No, I will answer this because I am very sad.
Okay.
Fast and Furious 9. I am gutted. Well, actually, Dornbush. Wait, I forgot.
Hello.
We both really love it.
Yeah.
I am gutted, but it's interesting because in terms of putting these movies up for rent on streaming platforms, like in almost every other case, I'd be like, yeah, let the people have it, do the thing. But like, I want pomp and circumstance. Like, I want all of it. I want the giant IMAX screen, and I do not want to see Fast and Furious any other way. Do you know what I mean? It would make me
those
so
movies are made.
sad if they just gave it to us up for rent on streaming platforms. And it's so funny because I've been such an advocate for every other movie to become available, but that I don't want.
No, the theatrical experience is so important to that franchise. I vividly can remember in, I think it's Fast 6, when Dom shoots the car like into the side of the bridge and then flies through the air like a superhero. There was a group of guys in front of me and they all stood up and clapped like he had just finished a speech, like a rousing speech. It was amazing. But yeah, that's definitely, I think, the hardest one for me to stomach right now. But
so, Sid, you were just talking about how some of these companies aren't even putting a definitive date, or some of them are, but it feels a little too soon. Fast and Furious 9, I think, got delayed a full year. So they cleared the road, no pun intended, for a full year. And we now have a better understanding of when we'll actually see that movie, and it's a long ass time away. But the good thing about that is that, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that one's a really interesting one because they moved it to what was supposed to be the date for Fast 10. So they had like a little.
We'll get both.
Yeah, day and date, double feature.
Could you handle that?
I don't know that I could handle that. I think I just passed out.
Two fast films in the same time. So a couple of things for you that I just let you know. First of all, I've only ever seen one Fast and the Furious film, and that's Fast 2, which I've heard is the worst.
No, the fourth one's the worst, but the second one's not the greatest either.
Bottom 3 for sure.
Second thing, I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat asking us about the Mario movie, saying things like, really, another Mario movie? And a Mario movie would be dope. Do y'all not know that they're making another Mario? Like, the people behind the studio behind Minions are making a CG animated Mario movie that's supposed to come out. Yeah, Illumination. It's supposed to come out, I believe, next year.
Also, what do you mean another Mario movie?
Well, perhaps you remember the John Leguizamo film from the early 90s.
It came out when people's dads were in like college. That was like 100
too soon.
Wait, my dad was in college when that came out. I was very.
That's right. I was joking. That's ridiculous. No, so I think the cool thing about the Fast and Furious thing is that if the world gets better, then they can announce that the release date has been moved up, and maybe it becomes like a Christmas film.
Do you think they move it up like that? Like
I don't.
Like that's.
Yeah, I think they're going to do that sound on TV for everyone to hear.
It sounds like a big like.
Get Vin Diesel to do whatever that is.
They're gonna get a bunch of dolphins to carry the film several weeks earlier.
No, they'll put a truck on top of the dolphins, and the dolphins will all carry it. You know how people like carry other people into villages?
We really got a lot of thoughts going on here. A lot of conversations happening here.
Wait, but I do want to say one more thing.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm being assertive now.
Sure. I said yes, go, and then you're being mean about it.
You were very nice about it. Is that it's interesting because I'd be curious if other fans of other franchises feel the same way in terms of if these movies should go up for rent on streaming platforms.
Well,
I will say that fans of the New Mutants are probably like, put this stupid film out already,
or don't at this point,
or don't. Yeah. No, they have to put it out because then there's going to be a hashtag forever saying to release it, and we have enough of that. That movie that movie was delayed 11 times before we were in a global quarantine. Like that movie should just go on Quibi or whatever and just send it off to die. Everyone in that movie is 12 years younger than they are in real life now. They finished filming that movie in 1987.
I think that might be one of the few movies that's been delayed that does have the rare chance to actually go on a streaming service. I think all of these movies that haven't come out, though, are not going to come on streaming services, no matter how much we want it or how much we think it makes sense, because at the end of the day, most of those big studios value too much of the worldwide box office to put it on a streaming service.
No, some of them are already available.
So those are ones that are largely out already, though.
Trolls World Tour.
That's the rare one. Sorry, go ahead.
Antlers. Sorry to interrupt you, but just so that we have the information correct, those three for sure are available for 48-hour rental windows. So not totally the same thing.
Is Antlers? Because I don't think Antlers.
I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Not
the ones that have gone on.
No, you're thinking of The Invisible Man.
Yeah. So
thank you.
Invisible Man. So those are all movies that are owned by Universal. So that's where the weird thing gets into place, because Universal also owns Fast 9. The Invisible Man, sorry?
Don't they own the rights for Minions, right?
Yes, yeah. So the movies that they've put on streaming are either movies that were just about to come out or already were out in theaters, like The Invisible Man, which had this amazing first weekend box office, and then its momentum was just suddenly killed. And so they want to make sure that movie doesn't die. The thing about Trolls, and why I think that's the exception of them putting a movie that hasn't come out yet onto streaming, is because it is so family friendly, and with parents home with their kids, potentially for months, that movie is likely to make a pretty large box office. Obviously, Minions would fall into that too, but I guess they see the value in that being a sort of worldwide release, because I think Minions makes like hundreds of $1 million more at the box office than Trolls does. Mm-hmm. And so they see a movie like that or a movie like Fast 9 as still being worth delaying even a year, because the worldwide cume in the box office from North America and China and Europe and everywhere is worth waiting on than a movie that will make much less money and may get some people interested who are at home and who have nothing to do.
Yeah, I think at some point they do have to value sort of the costs, the money they put in versus the money they're getting back. And if they're getting back $0 versus, a fraction of the money that they would get on the return, just by getting a bunch, downloadable, $20 rentable versions out there. Like something like Antlers, especially dropping in the window it was planning to drop, which wasn't even like in the fall around Halloween, which I'm super excited for, by the way. That movie looks awesome. I'm a huge horror fan. Sid, I know you hate horror movies, so we won't dwell on this too long. But I think that like putting that on streaming now and getting a bunch of money from people who are just kind of hanging out at home is the right play for a movie like that. And I think also for something like Onward, which shared a very similar fate as The Invisible Man, which same thing, Jonathan, it came out, like I passed by a poster. I was walking around my neighborhood today. I passed by a poster that said that movie came out on March 7th. And I was like, oh yeah, that feels like 100 years ago when like a movie would come out in theaters and people would go see it. Like we covered the red carpet for that at IGN. Sid, you worked that, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. And so that was like a normal time back then. I think like putting that on Disney Plus or streaming or something like that to circumvent the fact that the profits of that movie just completely dropped off. That's the right move right now.
So my question would be, okay, let's just live in a land where it's 2021 and these movies didn't come out on streaming platforms. Are we just getting a new movie like every 3 days? Or like what's going on there? That seems like we're going to, do you know what I mean? If you're pushing all of these, are they going to push back all of the movies that are supposed to come out next year?
Everything that's in production had to pause too.
Exactly. So we're on a time delay with everything. So it's like that's the thing. Like everyone's like, yeah, I'm just gonna stay home and stream, and it's like, yeah, that's great, we can do that. But eventually, people are gonna need to make new stuff, and they can't. So we're just gonna have to watch all the stuff we have already, which thankfully is endless.
Yeah,
it's not like we're like, oh no, we don't have enough movies on this,
I'm going to move on to the next story here. Yeah. So we're talking about movies that we want to watch, all this endless content and stuff. But Brian, I know that you're very excited to check out Star Wars: A New Hope now that somebody has deep faked Ewan McGregor into it. You wrote the notes up for this one and you just said, this is cool and also creepy. So talk about it.
So a YouTuber named Shamook, which I love that name, basically deepfaked Ewan McGregor into Alec Guinness's role as Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars: A New Hope. He kept Alec Guinness's voice and basically comped in the Ewan McGregor that we know, that we've seen in the prequels as Obi-Wan Kenobi. It works surprisingly well when he starts talking. Yeah, I don't like it either, but it works like visually. I think when he starts talking, there's definitely a disconnect. But I think this sort of brings, people obviously have talked about the sort of ethical ramifications of deepfaking, and how for every one person using this technology for good, there's 1,000 people using it for evil. How do you guys feel about this whole movement right now? Is this how they'll make movies now, that they can't make movies the regular way anymore because of everything going on?
I feel like this is using it for evil. I don't like it as I'm watching it right now.
It kind of looks like he'd be in The Hobbit.
He does look like he'd be in The Hobbit.
Yeah, that's very strange.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that this is a good use. And I love Ewan McGregor. I love Ewan McGregor. But I don't love this. But what is a good use for this? I hate deepfaking. It makes me so uncomfortable. The possibilities of it make me uncomfortable. The whole thing just is very gross in my head. And I would love to know if there's a positive use for this.
I think
that the positive use for this would be so we got weird CG versions of Princess Leia in Rogue One and in Rise of the Skywalker, and Emperor Palpatine had a bad CG face. In that regard, I think that using this technology might be something worthwhile, but I don't know that it would actually even be a potential there, because both of those actors had passed away by the time those movies were filmed. So
even in those scenarios, though, I don't really agree with it, because I know we ran a story a couple months. I don't know. Maybe it could have been a month ago. Maybe it was 6 months ago.
Time is irrelevant. Yeah, time doesn't matter anymore.
About James Dean being cast in a movie, and I was very vocal about thinking that was gross, and so it's just I don't feel like you should put people in places they didn't consent to being.
What about the time that Tupac showed up at that concert 20 years posthumously?
Still very weird. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a dinosaur person, but I
No, I'm with you.
I just can't get on board.
No, I'll say that to the Star Wars thing specifically, a deepfake version of Carrie Fisher in Rise of the Skywalker and Rogue One would have been better than what they did in those films, but they shouldn't have done any of it. It's one of those things is a better solution, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the best solution is writing, is making it so these characters aren't even in there. We've invited a train to the show.
Yeah, what the hell?
Sorry, I live right by a train station. I was going to you. It's too late.
I came up with a good use, a possible good use. So, what if you only have a voicemail from your parents, and your parents pass away, and then somebody deep fakes them into them saying the voicemail to you, so then you get to see them talk to you.
This is the darkest shit I've ever heard from you. I feel like this is a deep-rooted fear that you're talking about right now. And this is a very specific case. Yeah.
Well, Sid, I'm thinking of things that could be good to people.
What kind of voicemails do you get? Because my dad will leave me a voicemail that's like, "Hey Brian, just calling to see if you're around. Anyway, bye." And like if a video of a man showed up saying that, I'd be like, "No, get him out of here."
You don't have to ask or reply to it. It's just like it'll just show up to your doorstep one day in your email inbox. No, because I was thinking
Sid, I got some of your mail. Do you want me to mail it to you? Like the parents leave dumbass voicemail.
No, because I was thinking about that story about was it in Korea? Like a woman whose daughter passed away at a young age, and so they put her created like a VR scenario. I was kind of thinking about that, like maybe like
and she got to like hold her daughter's CG face.
So
I thought that
weird.
was terrible. I thought it was
creepy.
terrible.
I felt like I couldn't say it was terrible because I haven't lost a daughter that I didn't get to see grow up.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. But I watched that story and I watched the reactions to it, and everybody was, "This is so heartwarming." And I was sitting there being like, "This is Black Mirror. Like this is bad. This is like, don't open this door because you'll never be able to close it." You know.
Our very own Jeremy has a video watch right here on this show most days has actually solved this problem for. He says, "Make a deep fake of me and have it talk shit to my enemies after I'm dead, please."
That's a good use.
Which I think is a very good use.
Anyway, I will say that life is apparently a nightmare, and we've gone through some very dark stories today, and I want to pivot. And can we please talk about fucking Animal Crossing?
We can. You did the worst swear. You can't. We can. But first, I wanted to ask. I had a follow-up question for Sid.
I thought we could swear on this show.
If you are a dinosaur person, what kind of dino person are you? Stegosaurus?
I'm the long neck that eats the leaves at the same time.
Okay.
At the same time as what? What do you mean at the same time?
They never have just one leaf. They always have like 4 in their mouth.
Right.
Oh, so you mean eats a lot of leaves, not eats the leaves at the same time?
Well, no, they eat a lot of leaves at the same time because
That's like when you go to get spaghetti and you eat a lot of spaghetti at the same time, but it's just like just noodles on your fork.
What are you having for breakfast? Just a whole lot of Cheerios at the same time.
I think it makes sense.
Okay, Brian, talk about your animals.
Obviously, much has been said about Animal Crossing. A few hours, depending on where you are globally, it might already be out already in the UK and Japan right now. I genuinely think it's the sort of silver lining and the ray of sunshine we need in the world right now. Are you guys excited for this game?
Nope.
Never heard of it.
What?
I'm excited.
I'm just kidding. I can't wait. I can't wait for this game. I really love it. Yeah, I love a good Animal Crossing, and this looks very soothing and very chilled out, and I'm going to really play the heck out of this game and make friends with all these.
Wait, okay, so Brian, since we're both on this show together, I would like to take you back to E3 of last year when you told me just before we were supposed to go on that Animal Crossing was getting delayed, and I spontaneously burst into tears. By complete accident. I don't know if you remember that, but then I had to go on stage and there was tears on my face. And it was because I found out Animal Crossing got delayed before because it was like, I think you had the interview. And so they told you that you weren't going to do it because it was delayed.
Right.
And, or we thought you had the interview. It doesn't matter. We're not going to get into it. But I'm very excited.
Yes. No, this is the thing though. This is what I wanted to bring up. The game got delayed. It is coming out in a week where it feels like everything is getting delayed or canceled and pushed, and it is fundamentally impossible to delay this game right now. I know some people are getting their physical pre-orders delayed by a few days. It'll launch on Switch digitally in a few hours. Nothing can stop that.
Well,
right?
If we break the internet.
That's right. No, some people even preloaded it.
But if you have it pre-downloaded and you're not connected to the internet, does it stop you?
Damn it.
Because I have it pre-downloaded and I'm very worried about that now.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Fine.
So
yeah.
So what's your sort of collective histories with this franchise? And it's been around since the GameCube, or actually since the N64 distro. Have you guys played Animal Crossings in the past? Is this your first one? What do you love about Animal Crossing? I agree.
So I will say I appreciate that we're all giving each other a little space to talk. Maybe in future episodes we can plan these conversations a little more fluidly. I've been playing Animal Crossing. I played the GameCube version, and then I took a long break and didn't play Animal Crossing again until New Leaf. But I really played a lot of New, and I'll be really excited to jump into this one. I'm going to name my island Florida 2. The second Florida, as it were.
Florida 2.
Mm-hmm.
New Florida.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Those are the same games I played. I played the GameCube version, and then I played New Leaf.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Animal Crossing, but it's been really, oh my gosh, is that a dinosaur? Sorry,
it's a Godzilla.
I'm watching our Blu-ray, our B-roll. Wow. Amazing.
Our Blu-ray.
But it's interesting because I feel like I love Animal Crossing, but watching everybody get so excited about Animal Crossing and like naming all these very specific things, it makes me confused if I really love Animal Crossing because I have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, I always think it's interesting that people they get really involved with like the villagers. They really like the villagers. I stopped caring about the villagers almost immediately. It's all about me. It's all about my house and my town. I get that money. I shake those trees, get that cash.
Tree shaker and bug collector. But it's interesting though, because I think that just shows you a lot about how people play the game, and there's so many different ways to play it. And especially now, there's so many different ways to play it and customize. Sorry, I'm so distracted by the B-roll. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Jonathan, what about you?
Yeah, so it's been a really long time since I into an Animal Crossing. I had New Leaf, but had stuff going on in my life and stopped playing it like a month in. So the last time I seriously got invested was actually the GameCube, but I've always, enjoyed and appreciated the series. So I'm really excited to finally like get back into the world because it's been so long for me. I am pretty much like you, Brian. I don't really care about the villagers. I just want to collect everything. Like, I know it's not a game where like you have mission objectives every day, but I like creating those missions for myself, and I do like filling out the roster of fossils at the museum and collecting bugs, like Sid was saying. Like, that's all the stuff that really excites me, and it seems just the way that they're expanding stuff in New Horizons seems really exciting for all that. I mean, like the museum that we've seen looks beautiful. It's insane how pretty it looks. So yeah, I'm really excited for this one.
Also, I just want to point out that now that I'm watching this beer closer as well, this is Sam Claiborne's game that he's capturing from, and Sam is an insane person. Like, all of his indoor, like, just total hodgepodge messes of all kinds of different aesthetics and items and stuff. That looked really wild. Oh, I hope he's okay.
So speaking of insane people, when I was living in New York City and Animal Crossing came out for GameCube, my goal was to get all the furniture in the game. I wanted 100% collection, which is insane because there's thousands of pieces of furniture in that game. Tons and tons. And so one of the best ways to do it on GameCube was you would input like a 14-digit code in Tom Nook's store, and he would order it for you from his catalog. And I didn't have a printer, and like my internet was crappy. So I went to like the school library, and I pulled up like this thing on GameFAQs, which was a list of every single furniture code in that game. And I hit print, and it printed like a stack like this. And so I was in like this New York City like school library, and I printed basically like 600 pages. There was a whole lot of people being like, "Are you almost done?" And I was like, "Yeah." I'm like nervously tugging at my collar, and I walked out with this huge like catalog of furniture on black and white paper, and I came home and just like flipped through it, and for months just input codes, and I was like, blue couch, red chair, and I got them all. I had nothing else going on in my life.
What did you do with them when you got them all?
Nothing. Just still felt empty inside. I don't know what to tell you. Like, welcome to video games.
All right. Well, that's about all the time we have for today. Should we wrap it up here in closing?
Yeah,
thoughts,
let's
anybody?
do it. Yeah. I want to say thank you so much for listening to News, Games, and More during these trying times. I know that a lot of you are home, and it's harrowing and difficult, and we want to bring you a little bit of sunshine and goofiness, and we're really, really happy to be able to be here for you. And I hope you are healthy and safe. Go out and get some sunlight if you can. Save the best canned goods for last if it gets that bad, and have a great day. What about you guys?
Wow, what a closing. I'm signing off. I'll see you guys next Tuesday. I won't be on the show till then, but it's been.
You're gonna see us next Tuesday.
You can't do that.
Oh no! Oh no!
Sorry, I'm a commenter. Oh no!
You know, we still have HR. Like, they still didn't go away.
My bad. I didn't even put that together. That was terrible.
You're trying to give us a secret message.
No, I think you're all lovely people, and I would never call you. I would never call you swears.
That's right. Well, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all next tomorrow.
Bye.